Hi. If you don't know each other yet, my name is Maya. I just turned 50 earlier this year and I'm feeling more radiant than ever, and I would love to share with you why, how, and etc. etc. I want to give you a little bit of a warning. This is part of my challenge, so I'm not editing this video whatsoever. I do have notes that I'm going to look at, and before I'm diving straight into feeling radiance, how, why, all that, I want to acknowledge that I'm standing on this beautiful land that was taken care of by the Darug and Gandhagara people for eons and time immemorial. I want to extend my appreciation to the elders, past, present, emerging, and all the radiant beings that walked on this land before. Thank you. Let's go. Let's start talking about radiance. So yes, I just turned 50 earlier this year, and I've noticed that my energy level and my inner feeling of simply being radiant are growing and becoming harder to ignore, really. Not just by myself, but even by people that see me. And I'm not talking about the fact that my skin is glowing, because it's not. You can see very well. I just have the plain skin, all of the normal 50-year-old wrinkles, but somehow from within I feel so radiant that other people can feel it too, and people comment it and tell me that they can feel my vibes and my positive energies, and it's not something that I experienced many times in my life before. Okay, so today I will talk a little bit about the principles that help me with this feeling of radiance. And just by the way, if you realize that I've just turned 50, yes, I am in that perimenopausal phase, and yes, I didn't have much sleep last night, and yes, I felt it was so hard this morning to get out of bed, and yet here I am, feeling radiant anyway. Okay, so let's talk about those principles. The first thing, and you might have guessed because it's something that people talk about all the time, is diet, or in other words, eating habits. There are so many different diets on this planet. There are heaps of ideas of what is the best supportive of your health and your energy levels and your mental health. And I don't know which one is best. What I do know is there is one principle that helps me, actually two principles, with my diet. And by the way, I've tried plenty of different diets to support different issues, different health issues throughout my life. And now currently, and probably in the last almost 10 years, I haven't been following a single diet. I have been following a few principles. And the two principles that I want to share with you today are: first, eat lots and lots of unprocessed food within your diet, as much as you can handle. So it doesn't have to be everything. It doesn't have to be a certain percentage, not 80%, not 90%. And there's some days that I only eat junk food. But my focus is, as much as I can, when it's available, I do eat a lot of unprocessed food. So vegetables, fruit, you know the drill. The next thing that is super important, and I don't think many people talk about in regards to starting a diet or deciding on the diet that is best for you, is the social aspect of the diets. So if you're interested in being, vegan, keto, paleo, all these, buzz names that are everywhere on the internet, it's great to try them, and a lot of people do, and they see some amazing results and improvements in their health and mental health. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the mental load of the social aspect of these diets. So, if your diet requires that you have to prepare all your food at home and can't eat out, or you can't go out with friends because there's nothing you can eat with them when you go to a cafe or a restaurant, or even to their house. And if you have to have so much added mental load on your already loaded brain with diet requirements and restrictions, that's going to be hard, and that's not going to help you feel radiant. So whatever diet works for you is fine. And if you can handle restrictive diets and they don't add a lot of your mental load and you feel radiant due to these diets, go ahead, do them. No question asked. But I just want you to think about it before you start a new diet that looks like it's the best diet in the universe to make you feel radiant. Okay, talking about diets, great. The next thing I want to talk about is moving your body. And I do understand I've been working as a full-time office person. I actually worked from home, and full-time hours were insane, from early in the morning to late in the evening. And plus I needed to take care of my daughter at the same time. And, who has time to move? But moving my body feels so great. And I do say that a lot of the time I don't. I either forget or I prioritize other things, but I still think and know that moving my body is one of the best things that help me feel radiant, even if it's only a 2-minute stretch before I sit at my desk, even if it's just a once a week dance class that I can afford myself to take in terms of time restrictions, etc., etc. For me, it's also going for walks whenever I can, even if it's just 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't need to be long, but moving your body. And by the way, if you haven't noticed in any of my previous videos, I really like dancing. So for me, what brings me joy, that's the next thing. The type of movement that you want to do is something that you can contain within your day, that doesn't feel like it's a big task, doesn't feel like it takes a lot of your time, and that brings you joy. So for me it's dancing, for my daughter is tennis, etc., etc. Anything else? I'm just checking if I wanted to say anything else about moving my body. I just wanted to say that when it's enjoyable, moving your body, if you find a way that is enjoyable for you, it will make it sustainable. So you want to do it more and more. Whereas if you just follow a very strict exercise regime, it might not feel that enjoyable and you might lose your motivation early on. So keep searching until you find a type of movement that is sustainable for you. Okay, so that was the second principle. The third principle. The third principle of living your life with, feeling radiant is living a life of integrity. And by that I mean walking your talk. So it means a lot of things for different people. I'm just going to give one example for myself. When I can afford it, I do my best to buy or consume products that are sustainable, that are supporting communities around me or supporting indigenous communities around the world. And I'm doing my best to avoid products that are just plain consumerism, that they are big corporation making tons of money from, on the back of other people that hardly make a living. So that is something that is important for me, for myself personally, and I do my best to follow this. Not to say that every single time that I purchase something, it will be a sustainable, environmentally, social enterprise, but I do my best to follow it. So that's one part of integrity. That's what I mean when I say walk the talk. And it will be different to each and every one of us. So you need to think of yourself, what are the principles in my life, or the values, the moral that I want to stand for? What are the things that I say to myself that are important for me? And how can I make sure that I adhere to these principles as much as I can? And, talking about, also I want to mention self-love, because that's another video that I created just the other day. Don't bash yourself up. Don't beat yourself up when at times you can't follow your values. But do your best. Do your best to walk your talk. So that's one point about living with integrity. The other thing that about integrity, sorry, I'm reading for my notes because I want to make sure I don't forget anything, is that you really need to mean what you say. And I want to say that I'm not very good at it. So I often find myself saying things that I don't fully mean them. I say them because maybe at the time they sounded funny, or maybe I grabbed some attention to myself, and by saying something that I actually didn't really mean. And what I do in situations when it happens is I apologize to the people. If I hurt or offended someone, I would go later on and apologize. Or even if I didn't offend anyone, I will just note to myself, hey, why did I even say that? Why did I say something when I didn't mean it? So that's another point that I think is important for integrity. And the last one that I want to talk about around integrity is really being true to yourself. So if you know the root of the word integrity, it's coming from the Latin word integer, which is another word for whole. And integrity simply means that we want to be a whole human being and we want to be true. And the biggest thing that I want to mention in that regard is around secrets. So a lot of the times that are part of ourselves that we try to hide from others and even from ourselves, or there are things that we did or parts of our personality that we don't like other people to know about, but even we don't want ourselves, we kind of hide it from ourselves. So when I'm saying live with integrity, it's one of the principles of radiancy, is really find those things out. And whenever you realize, oh, this is something I'm trying to hide from people, or wow, that's something that I hid from myself for many years, or in my case, sometimes even decades. I hid from myself for many, many years that I have a lovely family, amazing family, but there's one member of the family that I didn't feel he wasn't even part of my family in my mind, and it's something that I never talked about or tried not to talk about it, whereas now it's something that I'm coming to terms with, and now that it's in the light, I can be totally fine with it, and it's part of my whole. It's not hidden anymore. It's part of who I am. Okay, so that's an example of integrity. So integrity just means being really true to yourself. We talked about three principles of living, feeling radiant within yourself. So that was diet, that was moving your body, and that was integrity. The fourth principle I want to talk about is relationships. So relationships is a massive one. And this is especially for us women above 50. For many of us, those years of perimenopause, postmenopause, our hormones change. And I've noticed it in so many women around me. All of a sudden, relationships that we could handle relatively easily, we can't handle them so easily anymore. They drag us down. We see the downsides of those relationships. And by the way, I'm not just talking about, your partner, your husband. I'm also talking about the relationship with ourselves. Making sure that all of the relationships that we are surrounded by are nurturing, are supportive and energizing, because we don't need any type of relationship that is not supportive, that is not energizing. We don't need a relationship that brings us down. Now, I'm not saying break up with all of your friends and stop talking to your family. What I'm saying is it is time for us to embrace those relationships and elevate them to the next level. By elevating them to the next level, they will not bring you down. They will support you. They will bring you up. They will give you more energy. And yes, you will feel radiant inside with these type of relationships in your life. And yes, as I said, that includes your relationship with yourself. Now, just checking one more thing. Yeah. So sometimes with relationships, it is time to move on. And you've probably heard this before, but I want to reiterate this. If you are in a relationship and you're not sure if it's time to move on or it's better to stay and work on the relationship and improve it, You better make your decisions from a place of love and acceptance and understanding, and not from a space of anger or from a space where you feel like a victim and you have no choice and you have to move away because the other person is blah, blah, blah. No, when you want to make the decision, if it's time for you to move on or if it's better to stay and work on the relationship, you want to be in a very loving state of mind. You want to be full of compassion towards yourself and towards the other person. And then you will be able to make a decision that is much better for yourself and probably for the other person too. Now, once you got all of these covered, diet, moving your body. And I didn't say lots of other things like being outdoors and, avoiding addictive substances, because all of these things, and there's plenty more. All of the other things, they kind of fall into place if you follow these four principles of a good nourishing diet, moving your body in a way that is healthy and sustainable and gives you joy, and then, staying within your integrity, really checking that you're doing the things that are true for yourself, and then working on your relationships, sorting them out. Once you do all of these four principles, then the fifth principle is going to emerge pretty much completely by itself. And I'm saying that because that's exactly what happened to me. And the last principle I want to talk about is following your passions. Finding your passion, finding your call, understanding what brings joy to you, that even if you didn't receive any money, even if you didn't get any return for your effort, you would still enjoy doing it. Maybe it's a new hobby, maybe it's a new career, maybe it's just an idea to collaborate with friends around something, maybe it's ticking your bucket list off. Whatever gives you that feeling of, wow, that's what I'm going to do next, that's what you're going to do. So this is the fifth principle, and as I said, it's kind of going to emerge all by itself if you allow and if you give a little bit of attention and intentional effort to all of the other four principles. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will understand those principles. And now a dog is coming and I'm going to say goodbye. Leave me a comment if you want to share what's happening for you. See you in the next video.